watch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Monday edition of the JP Peterson Show here. After the championship games, we have a Super Bowl matchup. Exactly what I predicted. All right, I'm lying. Half of what I predicted. The Eagles against the Chiefs. Why I would ever pick against the Chiefs, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. But I'm going to pick against them in the Super Bowl, too. Anyway, welcome into a Monday edition of the Big Show. Nick Geddes is joining us from On3 Sports. Good morning to you, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing great, other than the fact that we got the Super Bowl matchup that I think any fan outside of Philadelphia and Kansas City was looking forward to.
Yeah.
It's like you like last night. You're just watching that game. We'll get into it later, but you're just watching how that game unfolded, and I'm just sitting there and I was laying in bed watching the end of that game, and I was just like, another Super Bowl where I can't get like too overly excited for. It's like 3 in a row now.
Yeah. You know, I was going to go there, and I kind of emotionally feel that way. And then I heard someone, I think it was Matt Ryan. I think it was Matt Ryan who said it on the postgame show. Or actually, it was not. Who was it? I forget. Anyway, they said, let's not take the bait and just say we're tired of watching.
It was Nate Burleson. It was Nate
Burleson. Thank you for that, because I thought that was a great take. He said, let's not take the bait and take the easy way out and just say, oh, I'm tired of watching the Chiefs. I'm tired of watching the Chiefs do this. And instead of saying, wow, I want to embrace the greatness that is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, what they're doing in the uber competitive NFL is just insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, my good friend TJ Reeves just pointed out, while everybody's saying, oh, they're the first to go for a three-peat since I don't know what. I think they're going back to like the 70s or maybe the Lakers of the early aughts. It was the Lightning that had a chance to three-peat. They were in the conference finals, so let's not forget that.
Right. I'm sure NHL fans were nauseated seeing that too.
Yeah. It's like the NFL is not the only game in town.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. And thank you for that, TJ Reeves. I just sat there and just said, you know what? He's right. Mahomes is just so freaking good. He's so good. And let's give a lot of credit to this Kansas City Chiefs defense. You know, by the way, Bucs fans, you may not recognize this, but this is what it looks like when a defense gets a stop and wins a big game. It can be done. And they did it. Josh Allen had the ball and had a chance to win the game. Now, Dalton Kincaid's got to come up with that ball. But you know what? Josh Allen had a hot route out to his left with a and I know he was set to roll to his right, but he had a hot route out to his left to a back that might still be running. And Dalton Kincaid came open early. So listen, he got early pressure off the corner. Great call. Once again, this Kansas City Chiefs defense is just really, really good, and they execute in the clutch. And Chris Jones is a monster. He's a monster. But they execute. They tackle well. They play physical. It's a hell of a defense. And in my mind, it may have been the difference. Well, it's always Mahomes. He's 1A, 1B, 1C. And really that's what it is. He had 23 days to rest his ankle. He looked like one of the faster guys on the field. When he put it into overdrive on that touchdown run where he faked the belly dive and he comes out and Kelsey's the lead blocker, it was a 12, 15-yard run, something like that. His burst, I mean, we may forget this, but Patrick Mahomes can freaking run. And if you go back and look at most of his big plays, it's with his legs. Was it last year? He did it with literally a high ankle sprain. Played 3 games with a high ankle sprain and made huge runs in every one of them. And I'm like, the dude is just unstoppable. I know this may sound really, really cliche, but Trey Wingo came up with a stat that I thought was just insane. There's 125 drives that have happened in the postseason with a minute or less down 7 points. Okay. Now, obviously, that's dire times, right? So the conversion rate on that for winning points or tying points to go to overtime is 40% overall. 40%. That's the winning rate. Tom Brady is at 48%. 5, 4, 11. 48%. That's the second best. Beyond that, I think Drew Brees was like 3 for 10. It's hard. The greatest to do it is hard. This will come as no shock to you that Patrick Mahomes has been in that situation 7 times. That's right. 7 for 7.
Okay. Yep. Makes
7
sense.
for 7. And we can talk about that horrible call on 4th down where Josh Allen's complete torso is over the line and he's holding the ball just like this. It is obvious from every angle, every replay angle. He got the line to gain. He just had to hit the front part of that line, and his entire torso was over the line. Even on replay, and if you want to say, well, we can't see the ball, I don't need to see the ball. I know it's in his torso. It's not over here on his right side, or I would see the ball. He's holding it with 2 hands in his chest, and his entire body, torso is over the line. Now, you could say that could have changed the game. Well, it might have, but you know what? There was time left, and Patrick Mahomes would have gotten the ball. So whatever the situation, if he gets the ball and needs to score points, he's going to score points with 13 seconds left. We saw that against Josh Allen. 13 seconds left. Still got it done. So, I mean, yes, am I tired of seeing the Chiefs to some point? Yeah, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to embrace watching what may be the greatest quarterback of all time. And at this point, I'm ready to anoint him. I've seen what Brady has done.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready to anoint him. Let me be the first to say Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the history of the game. Well, he hadn't won as many championships yet. It's okay. I'm good. I know he's got time. It's just a matter of time.
The question,
you're not going to beat him.
Yeah. The question is like, where do you rate? Where do you like compare? And I hate comparing, all-time greats to like guys who are playing now because it's just we're not finished yet. That's the crazy thing is Mahomes has built this unbelievable resume that's second to one other person in the entire NFL history. And he's 28 years old? Like he's going to have a Hall of Fame career in his 20s. He's probably going to be like Brady and have a Hall of Fame career in his 30s. Now, Brady did have a Hall of Fame career in his 40s too, which is crazy, but he's certainly going to be on that trajectory. But I guess the thing with the Chiefs, like, and this is the emotional, like just general NFL fan of me speaking that says like, yeah, I'd like to see new blood in there. And I think part of it, JP, is we watched the Patriots for 2 decades have this sort of like iron fist over the entire NFL. Like we watched this already and we didn't get like a gap in between, we went straight from Patriots dominance to Chiefs dominance. And I feel like maybe people were exhausted with the Patriots, the way it happened. Yep. And then we just walked right back into it again with the Chiefs. But is that the Chiefs' problem? No. They've got the best head coach in football right now, who I think has started to build his case. I think people talk about the great head coaches of all time, Belichick, the Landrys, the Shulas, the Lombardis. Andy Reid's in that discussion. I know we don't put him in that discussion a lot, but he absolutely deserves to be there. And then you have the front office that they have, the drafting that they do, the development that takes place, the continuity, which we talk a lot about, how that wins championships. The Chiefs check all those boxes. And so what? They don't have the most explosive players on offense like they used to. They don't make the big splash plays. We hear all that stuff. Oh, the Chiefs are the most vulnerable they've ever been. Right. They always find a way. They just always find a way. And the biggest compliment I can give them, and I said this last year after they won the Super Bowl, it's amazing how they sort of like flip the script of who they are.
Right.
This was the first time, JP, since week 12 of the 2023 season that the Kansas City Chiefs have scored more than 30 points in a football game. The first time.
You know why? Because they needed to.
Because they needed to.
They needed to.
They could do it. They could do it anytime they want to.
In one-score games this year? 12-0.
They've won 17 straight one-score games.
17
straight one-score games. But that's the point. That they are led by their defense. Their offense makes enough plays, and if they need to get a play, you have trust they're going to make it. But their defense under Spags, and that's the greatest thing, is nobody. I don't know if Spags wants to be a head coach again at this point in his career. Not too many teams come calling for him or whatever, but their ability to keep Spags around and his ability to get the best out of his players and come up with the right play call at the right time, like last night, bringing that blitz on 4th and 5, where he completely fooled one of the great quarterbacks that we've seen of this generation in Josh Allen. That is why the Chiefs are so good. And that's the scary thing. It's like they have Mahomes, they have Kelsey, whatever, but man, their defense, and they have the best defensive play caller that we've seen now for the past few years. That's why they're just different.
It's absolutely exceptional on so many levels. So I'm going to resist the temptation to just squawk about seeing them again and embrace Patrick Mahomes' greatness, because I really believe that the Eagles have a great roster. That is one kick-ass physical,
probably best in the league, top to
team.
bottom, probably.
Without question. And we said that after the draft, we're like, and then the players that they added, and then they get Saquon. We said it before the season. This is the best team in the NFC.
Oh, and then they had Zach Bond, the special teamer from New Orleans, he probably should be the defensive player of the year, for being completely honest.
Yeah. Well, and they thought Devin White was going to be that guy.
Devin was on the sideline yesterday, by the way.
What's that?
I think Devin's not there. He's in Houston, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
He's long gone. He's long gone.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? And Zach Bond comes out of nowhere. He was what, a Saints special teamer.
Yep.
That's why you can find some of these, and I'm sure the reason that he never played was because of his 40 time. He's not fast enough. He figured it out. When you have instincts like that and you're a great football player, you figure it out, especially as an inside linebacker. So kudos to him. But yeah, this Eagles team is fantastic, and I think they can win the game. And I think we all want to see a good game and see the Chiefs finally taken down. But just with all that as the setup, and that will be the setup, what's going to happen is the Chiefs are going to play, an okay game for most of the way, and they'll figure out how to win in the end, because they'll do what it takes to win, because they always do. And you can't stop Patrick Mahomes. It's unbelievable with the amount of reps now that he's had in the championship game, going up against Josh Allen and a good Buffalo team, a really good Buffalo team. So many iterations of it. Bad bounces will get you. Bad calls will get you. Other teams just making great plays will get you. It doesn't matter. The Chiefs still win. It's incredible. It's so incredible what they've been able to do in one-score games.
Yeah,
one-score games.
And look at this stat that I came across late last night, this morning, I think. And this, to me, again, this is why the Chiefs just buck the norm of what is supposed to happen in these games. And then this is why you play the games. But since 2000, teams with 4+ touchdowns and 0 turnovers in a playoff game, JP, are 59-3.
Yeah.
59-3. 2 of those losses belong to the Bills against these Chiefs in 2 of their 4 meetings here in the playoffs. I mean, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. It's like, and then when people try to like criticize Josh Allen, like, oh, he can't beat Mahomes, he can't beat the Chiefs, he can't go over the hunt. How about this? Last 3 playoff meetings, Patrick Mahomes, 9 touchdowns, 1 turnover, 4 sacks. Josh Allen, 9 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 4 sacks. I think in their career playing each other, the point spread is, I think it's 245 to 240 in the Chiefs' favor. Like, it's as evenly matched as you could possibly get between these 2 teams. But the Chiefs just have that little X factor. They just always have that little thing that puts them over the edge.
And it's also Andy Reid and how he manages games.
That's
and
it.
Spagnuolo.
It's coaching. The coaching difference.
Coaching. Did you see how uber aggressive both teams were on 4th down?
Yeah.
And I'll give Bowles credit. He's been more aggressive, but he's still not even close to the guys that are doing it in championship games. Not even close.
Yeah, the Dan Quinns of the world. I mean, you saw the Eagles when they need 4th and 1, 4th and 2.
Especially when you're playing the Commanders and you're going to have a few. You should be going for it almost every single time. Possessions are key, and especially when you have an offense like the Buccaneers have that can have a great passing game, great run game. You don't know which way they're going to come at you, and they can beat you both ways. It's a totally different deal when you have a great offense and a great quarterback, and I think the Bucs have that. So I think it's a huge part of the game, and the Bucs this year sucked at it. 2-6 in
Right.
1-score games. Awful. And it's been, and that's Bowles' MO. And we're going to get to the Liam Cohen Bowles thing, because I know you've been chopping at the bit to give your part of it. So we'll do that as well. But I wanted to get through just a couple of, and we'll get into more in the championship games, some of the plays, the bad calls as we go through. But want to highlight just the main points here, and then get to the Bucs, because this is a Tampa Bay show, as you know. I thought the Eagles' performance was absolutely virtuoso. The fact that Jalen Hurts, you know what? He can throw the football.
Yes,
He hasn't
can.
had to throw the football this year. But when he needed to throw the football yesterday, he threw it, and he threw it well. And he is an absolute legitimate, he can run the football as good as any quarterback I've ever seen. And he can also, he's a very capable passer, but the way he runs that zone read and holds that mesh point, and those linebackers just don't know what's going on. And by the time he gives it to Saquon's out the door. Or when he pulls it, you've opened up a huge gap behind the linebackers and in front of the safeties. It just makes everything so freaking easy. And he runs it to perfection. And that Eagles defense, will smack you. So I think it's a great matchup. It's a great Super Bowl. We'll get into it more in the second hour, but I want to go back now to catch up with what's going on with the Buccaneers. They've interviewed, I think 5 candidates now for their OC position. Yeah, they're interviewing a lot, so they're coming fast and furious. Nate Scheelhaus of the Rams, the passing game specialist who draws up all their plays. He's a young up-and-comer that a lot of people like his story. Super bright young guy. I think he's, 29 years old or early 30s?
34, I think. Yeah.
34. Okay, yeah. The 29-year-old is Grant Udinsky, who's obviously a Kevin O'Connell, McVay tree disciple. He is never called plays, but is regarded as one of the up-and-coming, really smart guys. And he's currently the quarterback's coach or assistant quarterback's coach with the Vikings, obviously working with Sam Darnold and bringing the best out in him this year. Although, the Vikings rankings offensively are pretty much middle of the pack, but he did a great job, obviously, with Sam Darnold. And Chargers passing game coordinator Marcus Brady, obviously under Harbaugh, his pass efficiency of the Chargers offense was fifth best in the NFL. It's a vertical passing game. 11th in EPA in terms of the efficiency of the passing game, 19th in passing yards, because obviously Harbaugh wants to run the football. But when they did throw it, they threw it down the field. They threw it well. And Herbert only had 3 interceptions the entire year. So obviously one of the things you want to cut down on for Baker is the 18 interceptions. So there's some likability there. I think they're far from done. There's a lot of interesting names out there that will come up this week. And I think now that we're in this kind of the week before the Super Bowl, we got this 2-week break. This will be a big week, obviously, for Get It Done. I think they'll have one name by the end of the week and be putting a staff together. They got to make sure right now, I think a heavy emphasis is keeping Kevin Carberry. But if Carberry wants to go with Liam Cohen, he can.
That's a hit. That's a big hit.
That'd be a big hit. And right now, there's a lot of animosity between the Liam Cohen camp and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers camp.
You think?
Yeah, which we will get into right now. It's ugly. It's nasty. And the way Liam handled himself, that's just it's not right. It wasn't honest. There's integrity questions there, and there's obviously a lot of emotion on the Buccaneers side, which I think tells you something. If they didn't like the guy and didn't care he was leaving, they wouldn't be so pissed. It's like, it's just, we made the analogy last week. The Bucs were trying to keep their side chick. They were trying to keep their side piece. And, you run that gamble that as bad as you may want her, if you don't make her the main piece, she gone. Somebody's going to come get her. Some other rich dude with a curly mustache is going to come throw a lot of money at her, and she's going to be gone. And no matter how many times you ask them to, are you sure? give me a handshake agreement, your agreement. Yeah, that's all good until you get that name on the contract. It's not good. And even in getting the name on the contract, Liam Cohen still could have gone back to the Jaguars and listened to him. But he said, that agreement, he agreed to become the highest paid. And this is all according to the Bucs, by the way. Liam Cohen's camp has a little bit of a different spin on it. So when you're reading all the Albert Breer article and all these other articles, this is all coming from the Bucs side, and they're pissed because what Liam Cohen did was dishonest. But I'm here to tell you, Bill Parcells did the same thing. Bill Belichick did the same thing. Are their legacies stained because of it? Nope.
Not in the slightest, probably.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, and I'm not defending Liam Cohen. That's not the way you do business. But what I want to say is this is the NFL. And I had somebody come back at me and go, oh, so you want to go tell the big boss that to get rid of your boss and then you're going to take his place. Like, how do you think that's going to fly in the locker room? Nobody cares. Will they be a little pissed off for a little while? Yeah. You think they were pissed off when Tony Dungy was fired? I was there. I covered that team. And I'm going to tell you, there was no team I've ever covered was as close to their head coach as those players were.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Dungy, when Derek Brooks called him and Warren Sapp called him, and they were all so pissed, you know what Tony Dungy said? Guys, go win a Super Bowl. Go win a Super Bowl. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I'll get another job. This is the business. It's a tough business. We're all paid well. And I'm paraphrasing. But this is, Derek Brooks has talked about this, and other players have talked about these conversations. Tony Dungy wasn't, I got screwed. This is ridiculous. This is unfair. Blah, 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 blah. That's a loser's mentality. And he cared about his players. And he wanted them to finish what he started. Tony Dungy's legacy, part of the reason he's in the Hall of Fame and part of the reason he's in the Ring of Honor is because that was his approach. His approach was not to whine. And there were a lot of fans that were belly aching just as we are now about Liam Cohen. There are a lot more fans. Trust me, a lot more. Tony was beloved, not only by his players, but the fans. And again, I don't want to slight Todd Bowles, but it's not to that level. Not even close. It's not.
No, in fact, it took everything that transpired over the last 5 days, I think, for the entire Buccaneers fan base to mostly, I say, wrap their arms around Todd Bowles. Because I think before all this happened, JP, and I think every Bucs fan would attest to this, there was a lot of division in the Bucs fan base of how you feel about Todd Bowles. There were some people that were.
I think it was. I don't know. You want to put a percentage on it? 75%.
Maybe. I did see a lot of people that would defend.
Who would you rather be the head coach? Who would you rather be the head coach before last week's shenanigans? I don't know if somebody did a poll, but I'm just saying anecdotally by the comments that we get. And by the way, you guys are in quick, and I'm going to get to your comments here in just a second. Thank you very much for jumping in here at 9:50 Bucs Basement, by the way, before the show started. We love you, man. I would say it would be 65%. 65% Bucs fans would rather have Liam Cohen as the head coach than Todd Bowles.
Perhaps before all this transpired, we were probably on that, and that's what I'm saying. I think there was definitely a great divide between the fan base of how you felt about Todd Bowles, and after this has happened, now it's like there's sort of like this rallying cry around Todd Bowles, and I don't think that's a bad thing. By the way, I don't think that's a bad thing because I think we've spent a lot of time. We're guilty of this. We're very guilty of this, okay? And I think a lot of Bucs fans are guilty of this too. We've spent a lot of time talking about the things that Todd Bowles has struggled in his role as a head coach, while maybe ignoring or not emphasizing enough or propping up enough the good that he's brought to this team. And I think you can speak to this, JP, because you were here for some very lousy regimes in Tampa Bay, and I was a fan during a lot of these very lousy regimes. I would probably tell you that the Buccaneers locker room even from on the outside, and you're more inside of it, obviously, than I am. And I've heard other people say this too that are in that locker room every day during the season. This is probably the best locker room the Bucs have ever had.
No question.
I mean, you never see, we talk a lot about, there's always like these crazy, like during the season, other teams have like players that are mouthing off and giving these, ominous quotes and everything like that. You don't see that in the Bucs locker room. You don't.
No.
And
No.
as much as the competition is what it was last year and this year when they had to win those ball games to get into the playoffs, they did it. There's other teams around there that would completely fold on their head coach, and they continue to fight through it, and they stayed together as one, and they did get to the playoffs. So, like, I don't want to, like, say that Todd Bowles doesn't have any good qualities, and regardless of what happened, unfortunately, in the Washington game, some of these in-game management issues sort of came to a head, but he was generally showing signs of getting better in that department during the season. I think that's a true statement to make. Unfortunately, he sort of reverted back to what he was during that playoff game. So
I would agree. It's gotten better, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be.
But I will say this: we're watching the Bucs. Like, we cover the Bucs. We are focused on the Bucs, and whenever I watch other teams play around the league, I would probably tell you that at least a third, or if not more, of the coaches in the NFL, a lot of them seem like they have no sort of understanding of in-game management. Would you agree with that when you watch the other league?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just, for whatever reason, it's a league-wide issue outside of the really, really good ones. So I don't think it's just a Todd thing. I think it's because we're Bucs, people that we cover the Bucs and everything, so we see it week in and week out, and that's why we're so vocal about it.
True, but the standard, needs to be better.
I agree.
Needs to be better. And I'm well. Let me get you before we go into a little bit more of where they're going to go with OC. What is your overall take on what happened? I mean, now that you sit back, about half a week's removed, what are your thoughts?
I don't blame Liam Cohen one bit for getting a head coaching opportunity in the NFL. There's 32 of these jobs. I know that's the old cliche, and one day you could be right on the front doorstep of it, and the next day you could be completely out of it. And there's plenty of examples of that in the NFL. If somebody's offering you, quote unquote, what's been reported, Ben Johnson money, and I guess that's what, 13, 14 million to be a head coach in this league. Yep. You give him a 5-year deal. Guess what? That's like 60 million plus. I completely get all that. But I think where I come from, I feel like your word matters. And I don't know where we got in the world where, for whatever reason, and this is not just football, this is more of a life thing, sometimes your word, for whatever reason, doesn't matter as much anymore as it used to.
Yeah.
And if Liam Cohen is going,
himself, get that bag. Yeah.
And if Liam Cohen is going to take his name out of the running for a head coaching job and then agree verbally, or there's a handshake, whatever, and to become the highest paid coordinator in the NFL, the Buccaneers came to him, according to all the reporting, they came to him and said, hey, we want to keep you. We want you to be our offensive coordinator. What's it going to take? Liam gave him the number. Jason got it approved by the Glazers. He presented it to Liam, and then according to the reporting, Liam still wanted more. And Jason put his foot down and said, no, this is the offer, and we need an answer by, I guess it was going to be Monday of last week. And somehow Monday became Tuesday, and then Tuesday became Wednesday, and he agreed. And then they were expecting him to show up that day. And if there's one thing I could say that's interesting from the Bucs' point of view of how they handled it, when Liam Cohen asked Jason Licht on Wednesday, and I guess this was around 5:00 that day, hey, can I come in tomorrow to sign the contract? If you're Jason Licht, right then and there, do you put your foot down completely and say, nope, that doesn't work for us. You're coming in the building tonight because we want to sign this and we want to put this to rest. Is that something you could say Jason Licht should have done in that moment?
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I
don't know if Licht, he could have said, look, we got a sick kid at home. I can't make it in tonight. Can I come in tomorrow?
And maybe that was communicated and it's just not been reported, but we can only go off of what has been reported, and that part of it was not reported. And then they're expecting him the next day, and they can't get in touch with him, which comes off as very unprofessional to do when the Buccaneers are literally trying to give you millions of dollars to keep you around. And this obviously all comes with a time crunch and everything. And they knew that Balky was fired as general manager, and that may have opened things back up, and clearly it did from Liam Cohen's point of view. And then to call Todd
And
Bowles
is
around.
it fair to say that once that transpired, that Liam rethought his position, and that's fair for him to do. If you are off, here's the bottom line. If the Bucs wanted to make him the head coach, they should have done it on the Monday after the season. That's the bottom line. If they wanted him to be the head coach, and clearly I think there were some people in this organization that did. I believe that. I don't believe that everyone was on the same page. I honestly believe
The difference between the Bucs and a lot of other teams in this league is it doesn't ultimately come down to one person. It's the Glazers. It's not Glazer. So that's a pretty big distinction there. So if one person wanted him as the head coach and two didn't, or the other way, like obviously there's got to be a common ground that's met. And again, I'm just speculating here, and we're just speaking out loud about how things could have unfolded. But that's a key distinction here. And then I was listening. I think Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report put out a Pewter Pulse video, which I encourage everybody to watch. And I saw, I think Bucs Basement might have mentioned it here in the comments.
Yeah, it was great.
And Scott had mentioned in the video that around mid-season, he had gotten some intel inside the Buccaneers front office that they had noticed some moments of Cohen being volatile was the word that he used, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there was a thought from the Bucs that, hey, we want to get to know this guy a little bit more before we just give him the keys to our franchise. Because we know being an offensive coordinator, no matter how great you are, is different than being a head coach. Being a great defensive coordinator, as we've seen in this league, is a lot different than being a great head coach. And the questions that you sort of might have had with Liam Cohen, you don't really have with Todd Bowles, because Todd is a great leader of men. We just talked about how he has this locker room together and everybody plays for him, yada, yada, yada. Maybe they didn't know the answer to that question with Liam, and they wanted to give it another year of him and Bowles back together and see what happens and go from there. So that's the best that I could probably give as to why they didn't just straight up go ahead and let Todd go and give Liam the head coaching job. But clearly they valued him enough that they wanted to make him, by reports, the highest paid coordinator, offensive or defensive, in the history of the National Football League. And so that brings us to Friday. I'm listening to Schefter on McAfee Show, and from Liam's side point of view, he thinks that the Bucs strong-armed him into a deal, or trying to make a deal. And I guess I just flat out disagree with that. But they were sort of strong-arming him in this situation. I think they were giving him their best effort to try to keep him, and they were within their right to do so. And if Liam didn't want to do that and he wanted to be a head coach, clearly he was leveraging both sides. Right. But the Bucs feel like they were led on, and then he ghosted them. And that's the part I think that leads to all this vitriol from the Bucs side, is that you ghosted them. If you had been completely straight up and you had been completely honest through all this thing by all the reporting that we've heard, it would probably be different. And unfortunately, all that's thrown out the window.
What would have changed if Liam Cohen called them back as soon as he had an inkling that he was going to go back, as soon as Balky was fired? Which was what, 3:00 on Wednesday?
I think it was correct? It was a little bit before that, actually. It was honestly like an hour, I think, right after Cohen, the reports came out that he took himself out of the running.
Right. So then Balky is fired. Right. So I thought it was very interesting, and I posted this, and I can't find it on my. I'm dealing with some computer issues here, and if you want to pull up my Twitter and get to the Jeff Darlington piece, if you can do that I posted. I think it's a real interesting read, because we're so close to this, right? Like, everybody, Buck fans are absolutely apoplectic about the way Liam handled it, and I get that. But I think outside of Tampa Bay, and people that have been in the NFL a long time and covering this league, knows that this stuff happens all the freaking time. There's so much money at stake, and I'm not defending Liam Cohen. I'm just saying, this is the business. And this guy on Twitter want to say, oh, if you do that, your boss is like, this ain't your plumbing business, bro. This ain't,
yeah, we can't compare professional sports to regular.
It's easy for all of us to sit here and say, oh, my integrity, I would never have done that to the Bucs. I would never have not communicated with them. Really? because you had a $14 or $15 million contract with them, which, by the way, they were not going to renege on. I don't know why. He should have communicated. Again, I'm not defending Liam. Somebody comes at you with $60 million guaranteed, which is your ultimate goal. That's why you came back to the Bucs. You were doing the Ben Johnson playbook.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to do one more year with the Bucs, bet on yourself, and then have your pick of the litter and have the leverage to ask for $13 million a year. He didn't know. Liam Cohen never dreamed that he would have that leverage right now. Never dreamed it when he agreed with the Bucs. And then Shad Khan comes back at him and says, I'll give you $60 million guaranteed. Okay. How many of you out there are going to look in your wife's eyes, and your children's eyes when you say, listen, honey, I already gave my verbal agreement with the Buccaneers for $15 million. I got to take that instead of taking the $60 million. Look at your unborn children. Look at their children and tell them that. You're insane. All of you are insane. There's not a one of you that would take the $15 million. I don't give a rat's ass what you say to me right now. $60 million guaranteed. Now listen, but JP, you always talk about integrity and honesty and culture and all that. I got you. I understand that. Ask anybody in the NFL what decision they're going to make.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody's upset.
It's a dirty business, and it's a tough business. You got to fire people you love every day of the week. It's a dirty business, and they're all richly compensated for being in the dirty business. Because you know what? You know what your parting gift is? Probably $25 million. That's your parting gift, Todd Bowles, if you get fired. Okay? Yeah, I think he's going to be all right. It's a dirty business. You want to win in this league, you got to make tough choices. And the Bucs can sit there and say, oh, we were a little concerned about Liam Cohen's volatility. You just made him the highest paid offensive coordinator in the history of the game. How concerned were you? I mean, listen, I don't want to – I love the Bucs. I love Jason Light. I love the Glazers. But I think there's people within this organization that are really pissed off because they – you know why they're really pissed off? Because they wanted Liam Cohen as their head coach. That's why they're pissed off. And now they have Todd Bowles.
Well, the counter to that is what happens. I think everybody understands what you're saying. I completely understand what you're saying. If I'm in that same position, like even if it's Jacksonville, even if it's a chaotic ownership, $60 million is $60 million.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody's goal when you become a coach at any level, high school, college, pro, is I want to be an NFL head coach. I mean, that's the end all be all. And there it is right there. And you're being heavily compensated to do so. And you get the pick, by the way. This is a key part, too, in this whole thing. Jacksonville is off. After Balky is gone, he's being offered basically to handpick his own general manager, which most head coaches don't get the opportunity to do so, let alone a first-time head coach. So, No, that's what I'm saying. The distinction here is nobody faults Liam Cohen for taking the head coaching job. We all fault the way that this sort of unfolded, and there are hurt feelings over it.
A little bit naive. I really do. I listen. I really think you guys are being really, really naive about this whole thing. This stuff happens all the time in the NFL. It's a dirty business. In sports all around, in life all around. When you're getting to this level of money, folks, you don't take handshake agreements. You don't take verbal agreements. You want something, you want him as your head coach, make him the head coach. That's what Shad Khan did.
Yeah. Shad Khan ultimately came out here looking like $1 million, which is pretty hard to do for an owner. Today for an owner who's like 100,000 games like below 500 as an owner, he looks like $1 million today because from the point of view, if you're not a Bucs fan, it's like, wow, he really wanted Liam Cohen and he was ruthless in getting it done and didn't care who he pissed off in doing it. And so I'm sure like Jacksonville is celebrating him over that.
And listen, here's the deal. Is Liam Cohen going to win a Super Bowl in Jacksonville? No, he's not. No. I will bet he might. He's got an opportunity to. but only one team wins. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes is 29.
No, I mean
So it doesn't
the other teams can't even touch a Super Bowl in the AFC. The Jaguars will not be touching a Super Bowl in the AFC.
I mean, so if you're going to judge this, well, they never won a Super Bowl. No, that's not how you're going to judge this.
No.
Does he turn the team around? Do they get to the playoffs? Do they have a nice 3 or 4 year run with Trevor Lawrence? If Liam Cohen can do that, then he's a success, in my opinion. I don't think he will. I think there's too many hurdles there, but that doesn't change the equation of what happened. Now, listen, if he goes on to be a terrible head coach, then the Bucs made the right decision. 100%, they did. But we don't know that right now. All we know is the Bucs are searching for a new offensive coordinator. And if you're going to sit here and tell me we're better off without Liam Cohen, you're being dumb. You're being emotional. You're being emotional about the way
I agree with that.
You at the altar, and you're mad because he chose another. He left you and went with another hot chick, and that's why. And he didn't do it the right way. Whatever. Get over it. I mean, get over it. It's $60 million. Get over it.
Yeah, there's two sides to the way you look at it, and I don't think both are wrong, by the way. But let me just sum it up before we. I agree. Let me just sum it up one final time before we hit the break here, because I know we've gone long. But whatever, whatever. There's the emotional side of it if you're a Bucs fan, and clearly, even though that I cover the league and everything, like I've been a Bucs fan my entire life. I live here. I have the emotional side of it, and I'm with you if you're a Bucs fan and you're pissed off how this all unfolded. I got that. And then there's the business is business side of it, and the business world is ruthless. It's dirty, and there's a lot of backstabbing, and you can't trust anybody. And I'm 25 years old saying that, listening to people like you and other people that I've interacted with that are much older that'll tell you that's the way it is. And I've seen that firsthand. So there are two sides to it. There's the emotional side of how you feel about this, and then there's the business side and what Liam Cohen ultimately had to do for his family and his well-being and whatnot. And that's where it is. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. I think I just basically laid out the facts based on the reporting of what happened here, and then everybody can make their determination. But bottom line, going forward, are the Buccaneers better off with or without Liam Cohen at the moment? I would say right now the answer is no, because he just helped craft the best offense in franchise history by the numbers that we've ever seen. And the odds of you landing a play caller anywhere near what Liam Cohen just gave you in 1 year is probably very slim. And I say that understanding, JP, that football sometimes about the Jimmy and Joes and not the X's and O's. And the Bucs still got a lot of good Jimmy and Joes.
Yes, they do.
And the one thing I will say as it relates to this OC search, the Buccaneers are in a much better position now than they were in the last two cycles to land an offensive coordinator. They essentially have their pick of the litter. I'm sure there's offensive play callers all across this country, college and pro, who would love to get this job and work with these offensive pieces. So do I think the Bucs are going to be fine? Ultimately, yes, I do, because they still have these players, and you're going to land somebody with credibility. I just don't know if it's going to bring you the same heights that this offense did under Liam Cohen. Bottom line.
I agree. It's well said. Look, this offense is still going to be good next year. But to me, year 2 of Liam Cohen would have probably brought you 34 points a game. I think they could have improved that much if they could get the ball back from their terrible defense. And year 1 under the next guy is probably going to be 27 points a game, which is still pretty damn good. But it's also a difference of about a touchdown. And as we see, the difference in winning and losing in the NFL is this much. It's 2 or 3 plays a game. And if it's 2 or 3 plays where somebody didn't understand the call or didn't understand the concept of the 11 guys you got on the field because it's new to him in week 3, that's a loss. That's an L, which could lead to not having home field advantage, which could lead to blah, 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 blah. The difference in winning and losing in this league is like this. And when you lose a huge piece like this, you are not a better football team. You are not. It's categorically proven. Consistency wins in this league. Does this mean the Bucs aren't going to go as far next year? No. Go fix the defense, then that will make up for having a little bit less of an offense. Go fix the defense and get somebody could get a turnover on this team. But the bottom line is you still have the same head coach who's 28-27, who was 2-6 in one-score games, who was 1-3 in the playoffs with 2 home playoff losses in the first round as favorites, who's a terrible game manager, who doesn't know how to use timeouts before the half or at the end of the game. And what did we talk about? The difference in winning and losing championships in this league is one-score games. Who's the best at it? The Chiefs. They don't freaking lose. Who's the worst at it? The Bucs.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about offensive coordinators and everything else. The biggest problem, and maybe while a lot of people are pissed at One Buck Place, is they have Todd Bowles is still the head coach and not Liam Cohen or somebody else.
And by the way, I'm willing to bet. I am willing to bet that the Liam Cohen offense that you saw in Tampa Bay is not going to be anything close to the Liam Cohen offense you do see in Jacksonville, because you need Jimmy and Joe's. You need those players, and I'm telling you. And I see Bucs Basement just chimed in, and he basically took the words out of my mouth. The way you saw Baker Mayfield compete, and the way you saw that man pick up first downs with his legs and take on linebackers head on and all that stuff with no care in the world and got his team fired up. You think Trevor Lawrence is doing that stuff in Jacksonville? I don't think so. You think the offensive line for
who cares?
No, I'm just speaking
who cares
to
what Trevor Lawrence. This is what makes me crazy. Is you all depend on Trevor Lawrence isn't what Baker. Who gives a shit? Has no bearing on this argument. Trevor Lawrence is not quarterbacking for the Bucs.
Well, this is a side spiel.
So Liam Cohen's not going to have any success. Is that what you're saying? He left Baker Mayfield for Trevor Lawrence. What a dummy.
No, I wasn't just leaving it at Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying the offensive line, they're not going to have the same offensive line play that the Bucs had, and so on and so forth. I'm just saying, as it relates to, like, watching Liam Cohen, like, what's he going to do in Jacksonville, or if the Bucs are going to be proven right or wrong based on what he does there. I don't think it's going to look like it did in Tampa Bay, is all I'm saying. Doesn't it matter more about what Tampa Bay is, though, than what Jacksonville ever will be? Well, yes.
Because I don't even think it's fair, because what you're making my point is that Liam Cohen here would have been eminently more successful here with what he's working with, because he knows it and they know him moving forward, than he is going to be in Jacksonville. Everybody knows that. Duh. But what does it matter? That just makes my point. Why wouldn't you have given him the chance here? Haven't you seen enough of what Todd Bowles can do? I have. He's a great dude. I love him to death. Super good. I love him. But this is his ceiling. 28-27. You are what your record says you are.
Listen,
we want to go back to his old coaching record, which I don't even want to do, because I don't think it's as appropriate. This is with this group. This is with the fourth best offense. The best you could do was win a shitty division and lose to the Commanders at home.
Yeah. Listen, my gut tells me this is the ceiling for Todd too. But listen, at the end of the day,
let's run it back and watch it again.
At the end of the day, it's over with. It's over. It's been 5 days now. We got it out. I think we've probably said as much as we possibly can about Liam Cohen and the whole. I think we covered it from all the angles and everything. But now we have to focus to what do the Bucs do now. How do the Bucs get to the next level under Todd Bowles, if that's possible? And if we hit the break here, I think we come back and I could give some I guess my primer, my preliminary off-season primer for the Buccaneers, if you will.
Cool. And we got to get to the comments too, because we love our commenters. Even Bucs Basement, love him. We don't have to agree, guys, but we still love you. That's the whole part of it here at the JP Peterson Show. We like respectful disagreement. All right, we are brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. The aggressive attorneys, they're local, they are trusted, and they get results. Go to the JeevesLawGroup.com, the website, get their information. You contact them through there and tell them JP sent you. Jeeves Law Group, offices Tampa, St. Pete, non-attorney spokesman. Back in 3.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, voted number 3 People's Choice Award on Open Table. I want to thank all our loyal family of customers that have been enjoying our great traditional Italian dishes we make from scratch every day. It's a great family story we're proud of. Our family moved from Rimini, Italy in 1984. My dad, Caesar, started Donatello, and that's where I got the start in the restaurant business. I started Café Paradiso on South McDill in 1995, and we've been there ever since. From our traditional ossobuco, a veal slow roast for 4 hours, to our daily fresh catch, the Gruppo Paradiso, with a piccata sauce and lobster claw meat, homemade pasta like lasagna, farfalle salchicha, which is a bow tie pasta homemade with fresh sausage. Hold on a minute, JP's favorite.
I love it.
So come and have a glass of wine with me on South McDill. Get a reservation on Open Table and see all our 5-star reviews. Ciao, see you soon at Paradiso.
So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the good folks at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. You can contact them, get that insurance checkup. A lot of folks are going through a lot of crap right now with their insurance companies. This is a big reason why you use Italiano. They work with these insurance companies all the time. They know which ones will pay out and which ones will not. And they don't put you with those companies. So lean on their experience, lean on them to do all the work and find you the best price. And also lean on them to make sure you are fully covered. 40% of the people in Florida are not. So when you go to get your insurance claim and your house is worth $500 and your insurance is only $350, you're screwed. Italiano Insurance can save you from all that. 813-877-7799. All right, let's get to some of the comments. And Bucs Basement is up first, my friend. You want to put that one up there?
Yeah, we'll start with him because he was in here early. After reading the Snakes press release about delivering a championship culture, LMFAO with the way he conducted himself in championship to Jacksonville, he's in AFC. He's delusional. Also, JP, after reading the Albert Beer report, also, my God, this guy is scum. And then to say the Bucs strongholded him by making him the highest paid OC in NFL history. Dude's a scumbag.
I like the other part where he says, you marry a whore, she's not going to be faithful to you. Yeah. Yeah,
I will say, short of Antonio Brown peacing out and doing jumping jacks in the end zone at MetLife Stadium just over 3 years ago. Hard to believe that's been over 3 years now.
Wow.
I can't remember anybody having a complete 180 of how Bucs fans felt about somebody one day and how Bucs fans felt about somebody the day after. And I think that's the none of this matters in the grand scheme of things. If Liam Cohen becomes a successful head coach, this won't matter. But in the eyes of Bucs fans, I feel like everything he did in year one, I don't think anybody cares anymore. I really think everybody essentially from the emotional standpoint is like, F this dude, we're out. We're out. And I think Bucs Basement probably encapsulated it there.
He does. And listen, if you want to use that as a rallying cry, so be it. If the players want to come back and say, hey, Liam screwed us over and we're going to be even better next year and use it as motivation, which I think Baker might do.
Yeah, I was going to say, we all know Baker is going to find that. He'll find that.
But I also know that I think just having covered players all my life, fans have a lot more emotional attachment than the players do. To the players, this is a business. And I just don't think Liam Cohen and Baker Mayfield are going to get on the phone and Baker's going to go, I can't believe you left me. I can't believe you left me like this. And you agreed that you were going to come back. You even texted me and said you were going to come back. No, I think Baker's going to go, damn, dog, $60 million.
Yeah, I will say, of all the players that are in like the media, I haven't seen like a single player typically agree with the Bucs standpoint here. And because players, obviously, like you said, think of this completely different than like a fan would.
They do.
I have noticed that.
Yeah. There. What else we got?
Let's go to.
And fans don't want to hear that, by the way. They want the players to be as emotionally attached as they are.
Right. It's like how you always said. You think Tom Brady really loves the Buccaneers and all this stuff? No, probably not.
Tom Brady loves Tom Brady.
But thank you, Tom.
Tom Brady came here because this was the best opportunity for him to win a Super Bowl.
Correct, and he did that. So thank you, Tom. I'll forever be emotionally attached to you.
Absolutely, he did it in a Bucs uniform. That's all that matters to me.
Couldn't stand your guts before that, but it doesn't matter anymore.
Or after.
Yeah. To Michael LaRue, are the Bucs so mad that Cohen left because they thought they had a succession plan in place? The national media isn't making this as big a deal as the Bucs are.
Yeah. Did you find that Darlington piece?
Yeah, I had it up here. Hold on. Right.
Okay.
You want me to read it here?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a little long, but I think it goes to Michael LaRue's point. So
yeah, he said perhaps the most delicate and complicated component to Liam Cohen's pending departure to Jacksonville was there were so many within the Bucs organization who internally recognized Cohen as ready to be a head coach. Had Bowles' team not made the playoffs, there was a very real world where Cohen replaced him. So earlier in the week, the Bucs thought they avoided the catch-22, and Cohen still agreed to stay as OC while retaining Bowles. But the Jaguars' job without Trent Baalke was viewed by several top coaching candidates as the top gig. I think that's asinine, to be honest with you. What makes the situation so twisted? It took someone to fire someone, Baalke or Bowles, to land or keep Cohen. That's an uncomfortable space for any team to live, but not completely foreign to Tampa Bay after some strange times with Brady, Arians, Leftwich. In this scenario, The Bucs opted against the sacrifice. The Jaguars sent Baalke packing, and the next several seasons will reveal which conviction proves fruitful.
Go back to the first part where he says many in the Bucs organization. Say that again. What did he say?
Many within the Bucs organization internally recognize Cohen is ready to be a head coach.
Boom, boom, boom. And this is the feeling that I got as well. And the other thing that he mentions basically is how Todd Bowles is living on the edge. I'm telling you folks, there are many in the Bucs organization that look at the success of this team and say it's roster based, not coaching based, especially on the defensive and head coaching situation. So if you want to sit there and think Todd Bowles is, beloved by the front office and ownership to the point where they would never fire him, they love him as a man. Absolutely. 100%. Everybody does. How could you not? How could you not?
Yeah.
He's that dude. But as a coach, I can tell you for a fact that there are many who believe it's way more about the Jimmies and Joes than it is in the X's and O's. And they feel that this team has underperformed. And I would agree with them.
I would agree with them based on the way that the season went. I would agree with that by the way this season went, and we already highlighted that over and over, the 2-6 record in one-score games. If you flip half of those, I mean, you're a 13-win team, and who knows, right?
Right.
I will say this because again, as
moving
moving forward,
the playoff game, which was a one-score game. Thank you very much.
Correct. But again, he is the head coach at least for one more year. I think like you said, Todd is living on the edge. Todd is very living on the edge, and I don't know what he has to do next year to keep it. Because what happens if the Bucs win the division again, play a wild card game, and let's say they win that wild card game, they get to the divisional round and then they lose? I guess you'll have to see how the situation, how the games sort of how they go to determine Todd's place in Tampa Bay. But I will say this: I think the Buccaneers Super Bowl window has opened. I think it's wide open right now. When you look at the veterans on this team, like Mike Evans, who's getting older, I think Chris Godwin's coming back. I don't think for 1 second they're letting him go, or he's going to go elsewhere. But he's going to be 29 with some major injuries on his record. Vita Vea is 29 years old, going on 30. Wirfs, the Winfields, these guys are entering their prime. I'd like to think Bucky Irving somehow is going to get even better next year. The McMillans, the offensive line is going to have all the continuity in the world. And of course, the most important question, which is quarterback, there is no question anymore about that. You have a 29-year-old franchise quarterback who played at a top 10 level this year.
Right.
So
That's
my
right.
point in saying that is the Super Bowl window is open.
Yep.
The Bucs have paid their bills. They have dealt with all their dead cap issues for the last 2 years, and you can argue they've overachieved throughout going through that because many people thought they were going to suck, but they actually were able to appear in playoff games through this. But again, we want to raise the standard around here, and now you have this great nucleus of young players with a mix of veterans. It's time to put all your chips into the table now. And that brings us...
Let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
You just gave me I think a great soliloquy on why this roster is in the Super Bowl window. Is the head coach a Super Bowl head coach?
My gut tells me no is the answer to that question.
Okay. And in you saw yesterday how uber aggressive these coaches are, including Andy Reid, by the way, not just the young guys, but Andy Reid. So let me put this to you. Is there another head coach out there with offensive experience or offensive coordinator that hasn't been tapped yet that you might want to bring in to give a little juice to this team? Are the Bucs maybe not just looking at OCs?
Are you insinuating that the Bucs are still not decided on Todd Bowles as their head coach?
Yes.
Well, I don't think for 1 second. I don't think for 1 second that's a thing. I don't think for 1 second. Todd Bowles is going to be the head coach. Todd Bowles is going to be the head coach. I don't think for 1 second. I think that is put to bed. I do, and that's why I'm looking. There's just no way. I don't have like a great comeback to that question necessarily, but I'm just saying there's just no way. There's just no way.
I think you're right. I think Todd Bowles is going to be the coach next year. If I had to bet.
But can I tell you how Todd Bowles?
I would also say this.
Go ahead.
I think you're a fool if you think that's a fait accompli. If you don't think there are people in One Buck Place going, okay, everything is on the table, boys. I want to hear all ideas on personnel, offensive coordinators, head coaches that may want to be, get a second shot. Yeah, I think there's guys out there that are intriguing. And is it a bit of the idea, because I got a lot of pushback on this too on Twitter, the idea that there's going to be, if you did that to Todd Bowles right now, there would be a revolt in the locker room. That's just silly. I told you the Dungy story earlier. These guys are professionals. They want to win as much as that's going to make them more money. It's going to be more fun. They're committed to it. It's a great group here. If Todd Bowles were relieved of his duties tomorrow and they brought somebody else in, you're not seeing a revolt. If that's what you think is going to happen, I highly disagree. There will be some comments, but by the time OTAs rolls around, by the time training camp runs around, whoever you selected, well, you better be a good selection, and he better bring some juice. There better be more positives to him. That's the reason you hired him than there is negatives. And you want to go, grab Mike McCarthy. Would it be an upgrade? You could argue it. But I don't think anybody's gonna think about, that's not happening, obviously. But I'm just using an old retread. No. You'd have to bring in somebody with juice.
Yeah, well, we have to operate as if he's the head coach. And what I'm saying here is, how do the Bucs enter the Super Bowl tier now? Because I think we can say they're one of those teams where when you think of, okay, who's going to make the playoffs, every year. Like the Bucs are clearly there. They've done it 5 years in a row, the only NFC team to do it. But now it's how do you get over the hump? How do you get back to that Super Bowl level? And I think there's got to be an influx of talent on that defense. I think that's an obvious statement to make clearly. But I think just you cannot get yourself into a situation where even if you have an injury or two, and I recognize that it was more than just an injury or two, but you cannot have a scenario where in a playoff game, Josh Hayes and Tyreek Funderburk, those types of players are getting meaningful snaps for you. And Todd Bowles admitted this before the season. I think we have good starters. Not sure. He was very blunt about it. I don't think we have the depth on this football team. That played itself out. You've got to get some capable linebackers on this. I mean, you watch the league right now, it's so hard to find. There's not too many linebackers that down to down are just rock solid dudes in the league. It's very hard to find. I know Zach Bond.
The guy off the Saints. Special
I know
teams.
Philadelphia did that with Zach Bond, but typically that's not really how it goes. The Commanders went and got Bobby Wagner, but Bobby Wagner has 13 years in this league of proving he could do it at a high level, and there's really no fall off in his game. You need at least one stud linebacker in the middle of that defense that's making plays. You need all that. The Bucs have got to influx some depth onto that defense because I think their starters are actually really good, excluding the linebacker position. That to me is why you go all in now. I don't care who the names are out there via trade, free agency. You got some money to play with. You can restructure some guys on contract, like a Baker Mayfield, for example, and have even more money to spend. Like, that's what I'm saying when I say chips all in. Like, Todd Bowles is the head coach, and I don't know if he's a Super Bowl head coach, but I think this roster is pretty close to that, and you need to now push into that. No more going into the season and saying, well, we think we can get by with KJ Britt. We think we can get by with one of these guys. No. It's time to go get some stud players to add to this team because you're competing with the Phillies of the world, and you think that, like, as much as I love the Bucs roster, Philly goes down with Nakobe Dean. Guess what? Oren Burks comes in, and he's making plays yesterday in that playoff game. They've got their backups. They have depth all over the place, and that's the difference between championship-winning team to a playoff team. That's what the Buccaneers need right now.
Or could you argue that their coaching staff does a better job of getting reserves ready? Their defense isn't as complicated, so they can step right in and just play.
Well, that's the other part of this. The defense is very complicated to learn, and so when you can't, it's not as easy for the Bucs to bring in guys off the street have them learn the defense and try to step in. That's one of the differences. So Bowles has to learn that, hey, I need to find a way to simplify this thing for the back end guys specifically, like most other teams.
61 years old. You think he's going to change?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. But I'm just saying, how do we find a way to make this work under Todd Bowles? This is what I think it is.
Denver Harden says, I tried to put that up, it didn't work. Stealing Cliff Kingsbury from Washington would be nice. Obviously, it's Cliff, but that's kind of what I was intimating at. And listen, I'm not sitting here saying Cliff Kingsbury would be a better head coach. I don't know that. He seems to have emerged and been more mature than he was in Arizona, which Arizona, another terrible organization, certainly did amazing things with Jaden Daniels. Interesting. Rick says, I don't know if that moved. The Glazers should have been ready to move on from Todd after the Godwin injury and his timid approach to the KC game.
They were never making a mid-season firing. They just don't do that. There's a first time for everything, but they weren't doing that.
Yeah. Meets McGee, if you want to put that one up at 11:06, says with the Eagles going in, that pisses me off. The Bucs should have been on their way to their 5th Super Bowl in franchise history. The Emmanuel catch, the 0 blitz on the Rams, and this year.
They were not. The Bucs were never getting to the Super Bowl this year.
Well, the Commanders almost did.
The Bucs had a Super Bowl caliber offense, but unfortunately, with the guy, you were literally having to play Josh Hayes in a playoff game against Terry freaking McLaurin.
Well, Josh Hayes has been here for 2 years.
And he can't play. And he's not a good special teamer either, by the way.
Here?
I don't know. Because he's not, and everybody wants to say, well, he's a special teamer. Yeah, he's a bad special teamer. 32% missed tackle rate on special teams.
Injury. I'm tired of the injuries. Injuries happen to everybody.
Yes, but they happen to everybody. But what I'm saying is the Bucs replacement level players are not they're not NFL caliber players. They're not like every other team. That's what I'm saying. Like they have to have an influx of talent on this defense to get further. At the end of the day, they have to.
I'm so tired of hearing this deal. Mike H at 11:05, and I love you, Mike H. You know that we disagree from time to time. The Bucs have won their division 4 straight years. How many teams would want that? And how many would call for their coach's head if that was the case? First of all, Todd's been the head coach for 3 years, okay? You have had no other teams over 500. Think about that, Mike. If we were in any other division, we wouldn't have won any division titles. None. So by virtue of the division you're in, and go look at the record of the division out of division. We're like 350 football. It's unbelievably bad. And you're getting wins over terrible teams in your division. Okay, and then the reason you're winning the division is because nobody else is even close to they're close to 500, but they're not over 500. You guys want to keep spouting this with zero context. You act like this is 3 seasons of 12-4, 12-5. It's not. And you were barely at the end of the year you're 10-8. 10-8 this year with the 4th best offense in the league and some really good players on defense. I don't,
Third.
What's that?
Third best offense.
Third best offense. Yeah, depending on which metrics you want to look at. I mean, the division title thing is just, when you don't mention anything else in context, just division title. Nobody else over 500 in 3 years.
Nathan Elliott here. I'll put his comment up.
Good morning, Nathan.
He said, I love Nick's all-in mentality, but trading picks is not something Jason will do. I do disagree that this is a Super Bowl window team. It is close, but not on the edge just yet. See, I think it's on the edge, and I think it's a few game changers away. The Bucs have some good players on defense, but they're lacking some game changers. And game changer means when I need a turnover, I'm getting one. I need turnovers. I don't need 7 interceptions for a whole entire year. That just cannot happen. It cannot happen. And we can talk about pressures and all this sort of stuff. And the Bucs bring a lot of exotic. They get a lot of their blitzes and everything. I can't have another year where Vita Vea is leading me in sacks.
Of course.
I just can't do that. And Jason you're right. He doesn't like to trade draft picks. But you know what, Jason it's time to get uncomfortable. Because I'll give you a name right now that I'd be all over. Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati. Because, and I'll give you the situation. The Bengals are probably going to have to pay Jamar Chase upwards of $40 million this offseason. And we'll see what they do with T. Higgins as well. Trey Hendrickson going into the offseason expressed displeasure with his current contract situation. He's 30 years old at the moment. He's born in Orlando, so he's a local-ish kid. I call him a kid. He's a man. He's 30. Excuse me there. 35 sacks in the last 2 seasons, most in the entire NFL. Now that's his true. That's really his only skill set. But you know what? That's a skill set that nobody on the Bucs have. I tell you what, 2nd round pick, give me Trey Hendrickson. 2nd
round, I give up a first for him.
I don't care. It's time to. That's what I'm saying. If you want to be all in, if you want to go put your chips into the table, and I encourage the Bucs to do that this offseason now that you've paid the bills, and now it's time to go get some game changers. Trade a draft pick for Trey Hendrickson. Guess what? Zach Bond's a free agent. Do I think he's going to leave Philly? I don't know, but I'm going to make a damn good offer for him.
Yep, go get him.
So this is the stuff I'm talking about.
Well, I think just in general, this franchise needs a kick in the ass. It needs you can say all you want about Dan Quinn, but I worked for a year with Dan Quinn. That guy has a motivational side to him that Todd Bowles could only dream of. And I'm sorry, this is an emotional game. And yes, I can have emotional leaders on the field. I can have a lot of different, motivational coaches, but I want my top guy to be a fire starter. I want to see some emotion from him. I don't want him going to sleep when your playoffs are on the line in a night game. I want him more emotionally invested than that. And I think this team needs more aggressive players defensively. Did you see how many people were punching at the ball yesterday?
It's all across the league.
Yeah,
The peanut punch has made a return. I don't see it on the Bucs though.
Yeah, we don't. You know what we coach? We coach tackling, and you know what we suck at? Tackling.
They suck at tackling.
I'd rather you just come in punching the ball because half the time you don't get the guy down anyway. I mean, this defense was really bad this year. Really, and situationally, it was horrible. And I think people are forgetting this because their offensive coordinator got wooed away, and he lied to us. He lied to me.
You know, it's so funny when this whole Liam situation came out. I actually thought of you, and I said, I have a sneaky feeling that amid all this chaos and all this meltdown from the Bucs fan base and even a lot of the beat reporters and everything, I bet JP's gonna think of this completely different.
It's a contrarian.
Yeah. I just knew it.
Because I don't admit. First of all, one of the codicils of this show is, don't be emotional. Don't be emotional. Think it through. Don't be emotional.
And you rub off on me because I come to this show and I'm coming in as the Tampa Bay native here that feels like I feel like I was left at the altar too by Liam Cohen to an extent.
Oh my God.
And then I hear you speak and I'm like, wow, I feel like such a child now.
But it's just I don't mean to listen. When it comes to your mom and your dad and your kids and your family, be emotional, cry like a baby. Yes, those are the things that are important. When your offensive coordinator jilts you for $60 million, grow the F up. Come on. Yeah, he told a couple fibs to get what he wanted. You know what?
And you got
Don't be taken. Don't be taken. Don't let somebody play you. If you're gonna sit back here and you lied to me. It's sick. This is big boy business. This happens every day in big boy business. In the NFL, healthcare, oil business. Go watch Landman. You think that's fair?
Fantastic.
You think people are lying to get an oil lease? Go watch a couple episodes of Landman. Watch Billy Bob Thornton. These people covering their heads with putting guns to their heads. You want fair? Go play tiddlywinks in kindergarten.
Hammering nails into your legs, by the way, on top of that.
Yes. You want fair? Go someplace else.
You know what? That's funny. I have a family member that when I was younger, I used to always say that's not fair. And you know what the response was? A fair is a place where you go to ride rides. And as a kid, that fired me up, man. It fired me up. But
I know it's an unpopular take, and people want to, he ghosted us for 24 hours. Get a signature. You don't have to worry about that. I listen, and I know Jason's going to be furious with me for saying these things, but because he trusted the guy. He trusted him. But I think more than that, they thought, like Jeff Darlington said, they thought they avoided the catch-22. They thought they were going to be able to keep their main chick and their side piece too. And that debonair, smooth-talking, money bags full, Shad Khan came in here and came right up from behind and waved that bag of money in his face. And he said, that smells like money. That smells like 60 million. Honey, what you think I should do? Take the 60 guaranteed. Yeah, listen, the Bucs gambled and they lost. They thought they could keep them both and they lost. And listen, it may turn out to be great. And Liam Cohen may turn out to be that snake and that loser and that scumbag that many of you think he is.
It's certainly created a there's a lot of stuff that's now going to come down the pike as it relates to the Bucs offseason before we even get to free agency. It's going to make for a fun February because I think this search is going to be, I mean, they've interviewed, I think, 3 known candidates at the moment.
Yeah.
The ones we highlighted. But I think this is going to be a wide-ranging search. I mean, Seattle fired Ryan Grubb the day after the season, just hired Clint Kubiak yesterday. So that was a 20-day process that the Seahawks took. So I think this is going to take some time. The Bucs are going to go do their due diligence because, again, you're going to have guys all over college and pro, I think, that are going to be angling to get this job. And if the Bucs were willing to make Liam Cohen the highest paid coordinator, I'm sure they have some money they're willing to spend. Not that type of money, but I don't think money's going to be an issue if they want to go get a big time candidate type of name into Tampa Bay with the talent that you have. So looking forward to that. But obviously, losing John Spytek, we'll see. I know he very respected by Jason Licht in this front office.
Yeah,
but
that's a loss.
That's a loss, but you held on to Mike Greenberg for another year. That's great. And from what I understand, the Bucs have a lot of guys who are like Spytek below him that are just going to rise up now into other positions. So the Bucs should be fine in the front office.
But you don't know that. Listen, Spytek is well respected.
Yes, he was.
Listen, you lose a piece like that. How does that affect your draft? How does that affect your free agency? But
can I also say this too? Speaking of the decision, the one big decision Todd Bowles, I guess, has made so far. I don't know if I'd call this a Bowles decision or if this was his own thing, but Casey Rogers leaving. I don't know which job he got. Was it the Packers or the Lions? I can't remember if it was one of those two.
He went to the Packers, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all sort of said that the Bucs need to make changes on that defensive staff.
Well, that was the only guy. It's the only segment that actually played well.
That's the one coach that I think did more than enough. I think to keep his job in Tampa Bay. So I'm a little perplexed by that one. I was more thinking of the George Edwards of the world and the Nick Rapones of the world. Those guys where you're not getting any.
Look at this.
It's a little interesting to me.
Well, it's also interesting to me that he left. So he may not think that Todd Bowles.
He's been with Bowles since 2015. Well,
and he may not think Bowles is on as solid ground as you think and everybody else thinks. Listen, if the Bucs announced a new head coach,
it sounded from some of the reports that the Bucs were looking to make a change there. Which again, it's like if you're the defensive line coach of all people, the run game coordinator, really?
Yeah,
I don't understand that one. I don't understand that one.
Yeah, well, what it tells me is that he doesn't think Todd Bowles is going to be around very long.
Yeah, there's got to be something else there. Something else there.
Exactly. So keep your mind open, people. This is a long way from over. There's a lot of changes still to come. And I think as we sit here, like at this time next week, we might be going, didn't see that coming. Like we pretty much are saying this week as opposed to last Monday. Didn't see that whole thing coming. Hell to the no. All right, let's take another break. We'll come back, get some more comments, and we want to get into where this OC thing is going, looking forward as well. So if we'll get to some more comments. You can come bring more comments if you like. We are brought to you by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you're looking for a concierge doctor, someone to direct your medical care along with your insurance, which I highly recommend, by the way, insurance companies, primary care, they do not have your best interest in mind. It's all about profits to them. So if you want to get that concierge service, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo is your guy, BAMMC.com. You email him, set up an appointment, a free consultation to find out what it's all about. It's less expensive than you think. Back in 3, stay with us.
Hey, JP here for my concierge medical professional, Chris Lugo, PA. You've heard him on the show for a couple of years where he shares invaluable medical, nutritional, and supplement advice. With Chris, it's like having a medical provider as your best friend. What I love about this concierge service is the convenience and support he offers. I can text or call him 24/7 with any questions or concerns, and he'll promptly call in a prescription if needed. No office visits or copays required. It gives me peace of mind knowing I have someone genuinely invested in my health, not just focused on insurance profits. And the best part, the Bay Area Modern Medical Center's personal concierge service is more affordable than you might think. Don't let insurance companies dictate your health care. Take control of your health and wellness today. Visit BAMMC.com for more information and to schedule your initial free consultation. Empower yourself and take charge of your personal health with BAMMC.com. Hey guys, why not kick off 2025 by popping the question? Yes, and you know where to get that perfect engagement ring. It's the Gold and Diamond Source. The best prices, the best quality, and yes, get her a real diamond. You don't want to go with the fake stuff. And January's birthstone is garnet for all you FSU fans, right? Get 15% off all the unforgettable garnet jewelry at the Gold and Diamond Source. Also, discover Emilique by Emily Johnson Weintraub, a sleek and modern jewelry line that makes everyday gifts extraordinary. And don't forget, you have any unused gold? Turn it into cash or a stunning new piece. With gold prices soaring, there's no better time to trade up. You can do it all at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
There we are. Am I back?
Yep, we got you.
Welcome back to the JP Peterson Show on this championship game Monday as we break down those games a little bit more in this portion of the show. Take some more of your comments. And you can do that at Facebook or JP Peterson on Facebook, or you can do it on our YouTube page or on X as well at the JP Peterson Show. And we are brought to you by Cafe Paradiso, top 10 restaurant, actually top 3 restaurant in all of Tampa Bay, according to Open Table by the Google reviews. Go read some of their Google reviews. Better yet, go to Open Table, get a reservation. If you got Valentine's Day coming up, boys and girls, get that reservation early. Cafe Paradiso, very romantic, white tablecloth, guys speaking Italian, great Italian wine, great food, affordable. They'll fill up quick. Get your reservations at Cafe Paradiso. Or if you know the owner, wait till the day before, and then he'll get you a table, because I'm an idiot like that. That's what I do. But I'll get mine early. All right. You want to go to some of the other OCs that are out there? I know you had some lists there that we might be looking at some other people. You know who the Pewter Report guys mentioned I thought was interesting? Old guy. Been around. Just saw him the other day at the playoff game. He looked great. Bruce Arians.
Oh, no.
Ooh, Bruce Arians.
No. Thank you, Bruce, but we're moving.
With my white goatee and my glasses. If I put a little Kangol hat on,
we might as well. Jason might as well just get a jet up to the Barstool offices and interview John Gruden if that's the route we're going to go down. And again, absolutely not.
You want to bring some juice?
You want juice? You want juice? You want somebody breathing down Todd Bowles' neck, huh? Absolutely not.
So let me just throw that out. Are there any other head coaching guys out there that you could bring in?
I don't even know how to have this conversation because this is like This is your conspiracy. This is the conspiracy theorist in you
It's a
coming out
talk
here.
show. Let's have some fun.
Conspiracy theorist in you coming out, but I don't believe that's happening.
You know what's
Okay,
interesting?
I'll give you this. I heard because okay, who's an OC who would? Okay, because I saw you tweet something about this the last week when somebody mentioned his name, Chip Kelly.
Oh God, no.
So you dismissed Chip Kelly right away.
Yeah.
Why?
As I know people that have worked with him and for him, and he's just hard to work with. He's hard to work with. He's very stubborn. His way or the highway.
Well, his way just looked pretty good.
Really good, really good. But he's not working with pros, and he was not very well received in the pros at all. He's got a little bit of Greg Schiano in him. I just don't think it's a good fit. I just don't think it's a good fit with a young team, and you totally changing the scheme. I don't think so. I don't think it's a good fit.
I'm curious too how you feel about, because I mean, in terms of in-house candidates, I guess the one that's getting all the buzz right now is Josh Grizzard, which I just learned this morning. It's not Grizzard, it's Grizzard. Who was the pass game coordinator for the Bucs this year,
and third down architect, which we were number 1 in third down. And folks, remember this. He's the third down guy, but it's Liam Cohen that then comes in and pairs stuff down and actually calls the third down plays. Yeah. So let's don't get it twisted that he's the guy that made third down. No, he helped. He was part of the process.
But what I will say, it's like, okay, you've been a pass game coordinator. You've been you're from the McVay tree, and obviously that McVay tree is large and growing wider and wider season by season. You've already been here. You probably have I would say, a good rapport with the players and everything. Probably well liked. Yes. I don't truly know, but I'm going to assume he is. I don't hate that as an in-house hire because he already knows the offense and has familiarity with the players. And you keep the same sort of variety that you had last year. So if you're going in-house and you land with Josh Grizzard, like, I'm okay with that. I'm personally okay with that.
I'm going to say this, and I know everybody's going to, well, Dave Canales never called plays. Yeah, and our offense was 21st and extremely predictable.
23rd.
And it 23rd and extremely predictable. Our run game was 32nd. It was terrible because of his predictable play calling. Yeah. And he would be the first one to tell you he was on the learning curve. And I know Shieldhouse has never called plays. Udinsky, who's somebody who told me, hey, stop. We don't care about Liam Cohen. We can get Greg Udinsky, who's not only going to be our OC, but our next head coach.
You don't know.
I don't know, but can we pump the brakes? Just because you read a lot about how smart people think he is, and he's the whiz kid.
It's clear. It's clear this is the sort of profile the Bucs are looking for.
Yes.
If you look at these initial set of names, they're going for McVay, Cohen style offense, guys who have worked with these guys. They're trying to keep this as similar as possible to what it was last year. They're skewing young. That's where the league's going. Like, it's clearly what they're looking for. I would think everybody could agree on that. Like, yes. All these guys that they are interviewing and they're going after are all McVay, O'Connell, McDaniel. Like, they're all sort of guys that are under those dudes.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't want to change the terminology, it looks like, or anything else. They want it to be obviously very similar. No, and I think I think you got to think out of the box. I do think that. Well, let's just for fun, let's talk about Cliff Kingsbury, who was mentioned for a lot of these openings, but did not want to interview because he might be in play.
He might be in play now for New Orleans because New Orleans is still open. I don't think anybody really wants that job, but the sort of league intel was that they've been waiting for these championship games to wrap up, which means, Kellen Moore's of the world. I think he's interviewing today. Could be Kingsbury. He might be in play in New Orleans for their head coaching job.
Why not here? You solve the OC. You get the play caller. You get a head coach that's going to hopefully be more aggressive. You can then go out and hire a defensive staff. That's new. You know, I don't think it's. I'm going to look in a little bit more into his tenure at Arizona and where I think he is right now as a head coach. From what I recall, there were issues with him and players. You know, it could honestly be overblown. I'd like to talk with somebody that was actually there. So, you know, we'll see. But I think everything's on the table now. I really do. I think I don't. And the Bucs have done this before with John Gruden. You know, things happen. The entire landscape has changed for me. Once Liam Cohen is out the door, and if I settle on a OC who comes here and who has some chops and maybe was a head coach in this league before, I mean, am I saying, well, we already have a head coach, we're good there? I mean, is that what we're saying? Is that the way the Bucs are thinking? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Like Jeff Darlington put in that piece. There are people inside One Buck Place that are not completely sold on Todd Bowles.
But the thing with Cliff, and wasn't this the thing before that him and Baker, we don't even know if they're even on
I think that's the thing.
Good terms because of what happened in college.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I did hear something about that.
I could have swore I remember that being a topic last year when his name was thrown around as an OC candidate.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And that would be a problem because first and foremost, you got to make your quarterback happy. Quarterback got to be. If he's got issues with him,
Baker's going to have. And I like to think Baker's reached the point. I know he's only been here for 2 years, but he's probably reached the point where he's going to have a say.
Oh, he's still
and whatever happens with this hire.
Yeah, if he doesn't like the guy, next. But a lot of that stuff can be overblown.
I will say this for any Bucs fan that is advocating for Bobby Slowick, please get that out of your head. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Is he a McVay tree guy?
Bobby Slowick?
Yeah.
Everybody feel like I feel like he's a Shanahan, but let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, he was the well, he actually was part of one of those. Remember when the Washington used to have all these guys on their staff? It looks like he was initially 2011, 2013, he was on Washington's staff, which I think that was still Mike Shanahan.
I think so.
Yeah, he was on Mike Shanahan's staff, and then he joined Kyle Shanahan. So he's a Shanahan dude through and through. But Bobby Slowick, again, for people who context matters here, I know everybody saw what Stroud did his rookie season, but a lot of that was dictated on Stroud really making up for some of their offensive shortcomings. And then last year, they were dreadful. And DeMeco Ryans made up.
You want to play the injury card, though. I mean,
you could play the injury card, but the difference is you got to find a way to work around that. And they just continued to bang their head into the wall offensively and try to do the same things with the injuries. And that is why DeMeco Ryans ultimately made that move. And if DeMeco Ryans, who I think is a very well-respected coach in this league, is bold enough to make that move after 2 years, I mean, does that tell you anything about Bobby Slowick?
Yeah.
Not really. I'm not really on board with Bobby Slowick right now.
All right. Meets McGee at 11:18. Can you put that one up? Says is a better coach than Bowles, but we had to let him go because we knew that the Bucs were not going any further with him. And I feel like this organization believes that Todd has reached his ceiling. Well, according to me and according to Jeff Darlington, that's the case. Mike A said,
this is an interesting comment. Or no, you said agree that Todd is asleep at the wheel or puts me to sleep. I mean, it's important to keep in mind that according to everything we hear, the Todd you see in front of the cameras is not the Todd that the players see. So take that for what it's worth. But this was an interesting comment from John Hill. As a Bucs season ticket holder, they asked you to commit for the next season in August if you don't want to be subject to higher seat price increase. It's hard to place trust in the organization to improve. I found that interesting because he said the word hard to place trust in organization to improve. And I don't know. I just feel like, haven't we always talked about the job that the Glazers have done and what Jason Licht has done in this front office and everything they've built here in Tampa Bay? And literally before Cohen, the whole thing happened on Thursday. On Wednesday, literally Peter Schrager and all the NFL media heads caught on and were like, man, the Bucs front office doesn't get enough credit for what they do. You know, all the things that we've been saying, like, you know, everybody was raving about them. So, like, I mean, is that really a thing? Is there a lack of trust in the organization? Because, like, I don't get that feeling one bit.
I think what he's saying is he doesn't trust the organization to pull the trigger on Bowles, you know, to get better, to get this team better.
I guess is that the end all be all? If they don't remove Bowles, then they're proving that they're just not committed to this.
Well, for John Hill, it is. For him, it is. Somebody mentioned Jay Gruden. Because Jay's been out there. Yeah, Mike H. What about Jay Gruden? And a lot of these guys that are being mentioned as candidates were in his tree.
Yeah, and they all did, and they all did it better than him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, he's been out of the league for 5 years.
Yeah, it seems like the Gruden name is just persona non grata in the NFL for whatever, you know, well, not for whatever reason, but I don't know why Jay would be dragged into that, but it just seems like it is. I don't think the Glazers, even though they brought John back into the fold, had him in the box, and you know, the word is they're going to put him back up on the Ring of Honor. God, it's funny how the pendulum has swung back, isn't it? Yeah, I think I don't think Jay Gruden's a candidate. Let's just put it that way, or John Gruden for that.
No, it's going to be one of these young guys. I mean, I could throw Jake Pete's name in there too. He's Seattle's passing game coordinator, who's also under the McVay tree. He interviewed for the job last cycle. He's going to be a candidate.
What about? Isn't he supposed to be going with Liam to Jacksonville? And
he very well
today,
may.
Right? Liam's going to speak today?
Liam speaks today at 3:00, I believe. That's the other part of this. It's like all these names we're mentioning, clearly a lot of them have worked with Liam as well. And so you have to think that Liam's probably going to try to poach some of these guys too.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see if there are any Tampa Bay reporters there.
I think Stroud, I could have swore I was listening to Stroud's podcast this morning. I think he mentioned he was going to be there.
I did not. I know he mentioned it last week that
it sounded like it was a very, very limited availability. Yeah, it sounded like there was a very limited availability. Yeah, I think he's going to be there, but it sounded like from what he said, it's a very limited availability of who they're letting come to this thing.
I'm surprised they're letting him in. He won't get a question in then. That's awful. That's awful.
I mean, at the end of the day, what is Liam going to say?
Well, I think he's going to. Well, I think he's going to say, "Listen, you know, I'm here to talk about the Jaguars. I'm here to talk about the Jaguars and what we're doing going forward." He doesn't want to. He don't want to revisit. There's no reason for him to revisit it unless he feels he's really been wronged by the Bucs. And in his statement, he did not mention Jason Licht or the Glazers. You know, he mentioned the organization, which, you know, he mentioned Todd Bowles.
And telling that of all the people that reached out to him, it was the only one he reached back out to, according to reports, was Bowles.
Yeah, because he knew he'd lied to the Glazers.
Well, he lied to Bowles on the phone.
Yeah. It's weird. The whole damn situation is weird. But it's you know what? It makes for great theater. Makes for great talk radio.
It's been an eventful week. Like I said, it opens up a crazy February which is usually like a very down month around the league.
All right, let's hit anything else on the Bucs you want to hit?
I think that pretty much covers it from the Buccaneers standpoint. So we can hit a break and then we can sort of recap further of these games yesterday.
Yeah.
We have a Super Bowl matchup.
There's a lot of calls in this game that went against Buffalo that everybody's talking about. It's pertinent. The Chiefs are better. I get it. But some of these calls are ridiculous as well. Quick break. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Nick and I both got our diamonds from the Gold and Diamond Source. When you make the move and you pop the question, it's got to be the Gold and Diamond Source. It's a weird deal to go buy that diamond, folks. So go to the folks that have done it. Have the best customer service, will not cheat you. You'll get exactly what you paid for. In fact, you'll get the best deal in town. It's the Gold and Diamond Source. Make it easy on yourself. And you know where to find them, 3800 Homerton Road and online at thegolddinosaurs.com. Back at 3.
Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, voted number 3 People's Choice Award on Open Table. I want to thank all our loyal family of customers that have been enjoying our great traditional Italian dishes we make from scratch every day. It's a great family story we're proud of. Our family moved from Rimini, Italy in 1984. My dad Caesar started Donatello, and that's where I got the start in the restaurant business. I started Caffè Paradiso on South McDill in 1995, and we've been there ever since. From our traditional ossobuco, a veal slow roast for 4 hours, to our daily fresh catch, the Gruppo Paradiso, with a piccata sauce and lobster claw meat, homemade pasta like lasagna, farfalle salchicha, which is a bow tie pasta homemade with fresh sausage. Hold on a minute, JP's favorite.
I love it.
So come and have a glass of wine with me on South McDill. Get a reservation on Open Table and see all our 5-star reviews. Ciao, see you soon at Paradiso.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you've been involved in an accident or have any legal questions whatsoever, it's the Jeeves Law Group. They will give you a free case evaluation. Go to their website, Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com, and tell them JP sent you. Great folks over there. Very easy to talk to. You see Scott on the show all the time. Good dude, and very aggressive when it comes to representing you. So go to with one of the big firms that'll just treat you like a number, get a quick settlement. It's not what they do. They dig into your case and make sure you get the best settlement possible. That's the Jeeves Law Group. All right, so the Chiefs win it again. God, I feel so bad for Bills Mafia. No wonder they jump off cars and break tables. Like, what's left? You just kill yourself. I mean,
Oh, okay. Let's not put that out.
it's the only way to go. It's the only way to go. I mean, it's just wow. I mean, I go back to the time when, the Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls and couldn't win. I mean, that's the saddest, that may be the saddest loser story in NFL history, certainly. And now this, like the Bills, if it's not for Patrick Mahomes, if he'd have chosen baseball, the Bills might have been in 4 straight Super Bowls. It's insane. I don't know if I've ever seen a fan base more thwarted by one team and one man than the Buffalo Bills and Patrick Mahomes.
It's like everybody compared like Josh Allen has sort of become Peyton Manning pre-2006, where the Colts just could not get over that hump. They just could not get over that hump, and that was the Patriots standing in their way. But eventually, enough cracks at it they were able to get over that hump in 2006 after, I think at that time, 3 or 4 losses to the Patriots. And it's like you're waiting for it to happen finally for this Bills team. But again, I just can't explain it with Patrick Mahomes, but I just sort of thought of this in the break. It's like the 3 greatest closers that we've probably ever seen in sports all wear red or all wore red. Patrick Mahomes, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan. I mean, those 3 dudes just all had that quality. We know what it is. And then you could throw Brady in there as well, where it doesn't matter what the situation is. It just doesn't matter what's happened in the game or anything. They find a way, or the bounce goes their way, or the call goes their way, which I know was the big discussion out of last night's game. But it's just unlike anything that we've seen. It is greatness, and to your point, taking the emotion out of it, you like to be able to like celebrate this greatness because it's not normal. It's just not normal. Because similar to how Peyton Manning or similar to how Tom Brady made guys like Phillip Rivers and those guys, they won nothing throughout their career, no matter how many accolades and numbers they put up. Like Patrick Mahomes is doing this to Lamar Jackson. He's doing this to Joe Burrow, and he's doing this to Josh Allen. Like, it's insane.
Like, you could argue all 3 of those guys could be in the Hall of Fame and have no Super Bowls because of.
Yeah, and they'll be in the Dan Marino. They'll be in the Dan Marino tier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's, it's not just Patrick Mahomes, and he's the first one to say that, but it kind of is. But it's Andy Reid, too. I mean, look at the calls that he makes. Like on a few of those calls, the run pass options out to the right, these are not complicated plays. They're really not. It's a sprint out right, but guys are wide open. Like, I don't know why. And I do know why. Because he knows the defense that they're going to face, and he knows what their responsibilities are. So, like on the last call with P. Ryan, who hadn't touched the ball all game in the backfield, he knows that they're in a man-to-man shell, or man-to-man defense, and that linebacker, or I think it was a safety, has to follow P. Ryan all the way across the formation through all this traffic. And he's coming out of and you're absolutely vacating the left side. All the traffic is coming right, and he's just slipping out. And that guy's got to run through 6 guys to get out there to P. Ryan. It's an impossible task, and it's an easy play, and great call.
They're tremendously well coached. They are tremendously well coached.
So well coached.
It jumps out. It jumps out at the screen how well coached they are. That even in that moment, biggest play of the game. And they're going to, 30-year-old Samaje Perine, who hasn't touched the ball all game. Like, they trust him to do his job on that play, and it's a veteran player. I mean, it's...
one of the biggest differences is in the Chiefs and the Bills over these past 4 years? How many offensive coordinators has Patrick Mahomes had? It's Andy Reid. Don't
I was like, there has been over, but they're just sort of guys that are there.
Right. The guy who draws up the plays. Yeah, on the computer. Yeah, but
I don't even think it has anything to do with the Bills' offense. I start looking at this. Sean McDermott has been there since 2017.
Yeah, but how many of OCs and play callers has he had?
They've had a lot, but I mean they've done their job. I mean, I already told you the numbers. Like this is not a Josh Allen issue. This is not a Bills offense issue. But
he's great. But would he be that much better with the continuity?
Perhaps. But this is my point, though. I have to start looking at Sean McDermott because he's been there since 2017. You've had many cracks at this, and
is there a ceiling?
He's a defensive head coach.
That's what I'm getting to.
Tell me how many times you can remember during all these Bills playoff runs where you can go, wow, the Bills defense really stood up in that moment. Yeah, I don't see it. The Bills defense was getting carved last night for majority of that football game by the Chiefs. When the Chiefs wanted something, they were going to get it. And you didn't have any confidence in that defense. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, how many more years of Josh Allen's prime are we going to let this go by the wayside before we do something different? I mean, I understand. I think he's a good coach, but in terms of like, just if you were to like isolate him, defensive coordinator, I don't think he's one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in football. I don't know if he's top 10. Like, I don't see that when I look at the Bills defense. I never think like, oh, wow, they're a great unit. I've never felt that way since he's been there.
And at some point, you may just say, all right, I ain't getting rid of the quarterback.
Correct.
You know? So what?
And my question is like, how many credible head coaches you think would like to coach Buffalo right now that are
Oh my
better than
God.
Sean McDermott?
Oh my God. Who? Yeah.
That's my argument against Sean McDermott right there.
Yeah. Yeah. But you look at some of the calls, the fourth down call we alluded to earlier. That's a terrible call. That's a terrible call. And it's interesting that
The third down call was terrible.
Yeah, I thought that was a first down. I would agree.
Well, no, you're talking about the one where it ended up where Josh. I'm talking about the last drive where it was 3rd and 10, and the third down call was a quick little screen to the out to Amari Cooper of all people,
Yeah.
and then thinking that he was going to run through everybody. And you essentially, like, to me, you just lit third down on fire, and you're like, oh, we're going to go for it on fourth down anyway. Like, there was no attempt there to actually try to get a first down on third down.
Well, I think they were trying to expecting the interior blitz, and are trying to get the ball outside as quick as possible. The guy who made that tackle, busted that up, was a hell of a play, because they had 3-on-3 out there, actually like 2-on-3, and that was but it was a great play by the corner who just destroyed the wide receiver's block and made the play.
Yeah, so, and the Chiefs always make that play.
Right. They always make that. I mean, Spagnuolo's defense was so good situationally. Like, they're great situationally. Mm-hmm. But every time, and I think it was Romo on the call, it's like everything the Bills did, it was like so hard. It was so, you had to make a great throw, a great scramble, a great, move, great catch, a great something to get the yards. Whereas with the Kansas City guys were just wide open,
Yeah.
It just felt that way. So there was that call. There was the Xavier Worthy catch, no catch. First of all, it's a simultaneous catch. Like, Xavier Worthy's not even catching that ball at first. It was the defensive back who caught it. And then there was a tussle for the ball. The ball hits the ground. So in a situation where neither player has control and the ball hits the ground. Now, I know the ball can hit the ground. If you still have it under control, it's a completion. But by definition, if neither player has control of it, possession of it, and it hits the ground, how can it be a reception?
I think we're all asking ourselves that question still.
And that sets them up at what, the 3-yard line? So the drive would have continued with a holding call, but it was a 35-yard penalty. So another one.
Yeah, and that was a big play. But then, of course, where the game flips was the fourth down, the little sneak to Allen.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, listen, that's a tough call to make. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a tough call to make, but I thought just watching it on the broadcast and seeing the replay, I agree with what Gene Steratore had said on the broadcast, that it looked like he was there by like a third of an inch or whatever past the first down yardage. And then you have two officials both come in entirely different spots, by the way.
Yeah, the guy on the far side.
One's overruling the other, and I guess I don't understand how we're going. Why is it the one guy that was less than the guy who was further across? Why are we going with the guy that came in that was before? I don't understand how that works. I also don't understand why in 2025, with all the great technology that's available to everybody, we're still using chains and we're just eyeballing things from afar. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand why we're still doing this.
Yeah, if there's a chip in the ball on both tips of the ball, you know where it is. That would have definitively.
Like, I watched a lot of tennis the past couple weeks in the Australian Open. Like, every time there's a dispute, guess what? We have a camera with great video that shows the exact specific point where that tennis ball is hitting on that line or not.
Yeah,
and it clears up anything.
We don't have 22 bodies in the way, but I get it. No, there's technology that can do this. Why the NFL is not using it is a question.
That's the question. Why is the NFL resisting even trying to upgrade on the old school chains and all this stuff?
Then they have less control in situations like this. And if you don't want me to say that, then put the damn things on the balls. If you don't want people to ask questions, make it less.
Yeah, because I don't like that we actually, like, regardless if you like the Chiefs, don't like the Chiefs, let's all agree and let's clap it up for the game that we watched last night.
Yeah, what a game.
Like we were fed a fantastic football game, but unfortunately, we have to spend airtime talking about calls on the field made by stripes. And this happens way too often in big games. And I'm sick of it. And I'm like, is the NFL not sick of it? Or do they just not care?
I think they just want to control the games. They want to have the ability to control the games. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a huge conspiracy. Now that you have the officials on the field directly connected to New York and a higher authority who can change almost every play now with replay assist, you have control of the games. It doesn't take, you don't have to have 7 officials and 13 players in on the conspiracy. You can just have one guy at the NFL office that can, it doesn't have to be every play. It could just be, a couple of really important plays and with an opportunity to make the call. I think the first down call, the fourth down call is egregious. It's obvious to everyone. And it's a problem for the NFL because they can alleviate that problem, getting rid of the chains and going to computers as to where the ball is.
Yeah, and I do think there is
technology.
I believe there has been a chip in the football for the last couple of years for what that's worth, but I'm not. Yeah. It's not very publicized though that's a thing.
Yeah, exactly. The tush push, and and that whole charade that went on the goal line with Frankie Lubo jumping over the top. I'll be honest with you. I'm glad somebody finally did it. I'm glad somebody finally did it because that was the only opportunity you could do. It was on the goal line where they can't get a first down. You could just jump over the top as many times as you like. And little did we know that a touchdown can be awarded by the referees for an egregious. And I was like, when he said that, I was like, you got.
What did they call it? Like palpable something or like it's in the rule book apparently, and nobody had ever seen it until yesterday.
So in a big shout out to Good Morning Football because they found this, and I'd seen this play before, by the way. In the 1954 Cotton Bowl between Rice and Alabama, Tommy Levis, I believe, came off the bench as Dickie McGuire was running down the field for a touchdown. He comes off the bench and tackles him, and then runs back to the bench like nothing happened and nobody saw it. Without a helmet on, by the way. Maybe they didn't wear. They only had the leather. I don't know if they had the leather helmets or whatever. Anyway, he comes on the field. Guy's going down the sideline for a touchdown, and he tackles him. And the refs awarded. I think it was Alabama was the running back, or maybe it was Rice. That doesn't matter. Awarded them a touchdown, and you could do that in the NFL. Remember when Mike Tomlin came off the sideline?
Yeah.
I guess you can.
There would have been a widespread meltdown over that if a touchdown would have been awarded in a situation like that. There would have been a meltdown. But I'll give you this though, when it comes to the tush push, because it's kind of like nobody does like I would call the normal tush push like the Eagles do. But like what the Bills are trying to do in these fourth down situations is essentially their version of the tush push.
And it's not very good, by the way.
And you see how they can't get any push? Like, it makes me as much as like the tush push is like one of those plays where like a lot of people wish it would be outlawed. I can't deny the fact that, man, the Eagles, I mean, I don't know what they do differently, but man, they get a hell of a push every single time. And no other team does.
The guy that was pushing Josh Allen looked to be like a running back that was about 180 pounds. Like that doesn't make it.
That's probably a start. You might not want to do that.
Yeah. So, and then you have, first of all, you have Jalen Hurts who squats 600 pounds. I don't think Josh Allen does.
Josh doesn't look comfortable doing it.
No, he doesn't. And he gets low. Like Jalen never like comes up and then picks a spot. He doesn't do that. He never does that. He goes straight ahead and gets as low behind the center as he possibly can. Like he never tries to rise up. Like you see, Josh Allen's looking to go off of left guard because that's their best player. Whereas, and now when you do that, when you rise up, you become a target, and you're not the lowest man. With the Eagles, you're literally getting the what we used to call a wedge. It's a wedge where everybody gets in behind the center, and you create. It's kind of a physics thing. The most mass at the point of attack, and then you get that timing of that mass coming from behind him to push him on a low level, and they literally push his ass, and that's going to give you even more forward momentum. It's impossible to stop for short yardage, and they do it so well. Do I think they should outlaw it? No. I think the fact that the Eagles are able to do it so much better than everybody else tells you that it's a play you have to learn how to execute.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
It's hard to just like outlaw something like that, especially because it's been going on now for 3 years. Like to me, it's like it's out of the tube. Like we can't just put it back in. Like what? Because some fans don't like it. Like so what? Like the NFL is not going to change that. And I know everybody says that anybody else could try to do it, and you've seen teams have tried to do it. They just don't do it nearly as well. Like
I think it's going to be interesting to see the Chiefs try and stop this with that group they have up front. They seem to be able to do everything else, so that'll be interesting. The other thing is, don't let them get in that position.
No, unless you have Vita Vea, I don't think you can stop it. So,
yeah, I would agree. I'd agree with that. All right, I think we've more than passed our allotted time here. Any other things you want to get to?
We can just touch briefly on the our Tampa Bay Lightning, who are going through some struggles, I guess is a way to put it. They lost to Detroit, shutout for the first time in like 2 years or something like that, I believe.
Yeah.
And they're 3-9 in the Atlantic Division, if you can believe it right now. So it has not been good inside the division. Depth scoring has continued to be an issue, but I think at the moment, I mean, they just played 14 games in 24 days. 17 of those were spent in a hotel. They look exhausted, and I think that's why they start slow in all these hockey games, and they get behind the 8 ball, and a lot of turnovers leading in the back of their net. I mean, it's the same issues that we've seen.
Well, and also they can't hit an open net to save their freaking lives. I mean,
Hedman the other night, man. Holy.
Sorelli's had about 5 open nets in the past 3 or 4 games that he is just completely whiffed on. Sorelli, everybody. Kucherov is hitting the posts. Everybody is missing these open nets. They're out shooting teams. They're getting more scoring chances. They can't bury the freaking puck.
No.
It's unbelievable. And these are guys that have done it their entire careers. I think they're just going through a bad stint. I think I have no worries about this team. After they get 14 days off for the 4 nations. Unfortunately, half our team's going to be playing in the damn tournament.
5 guys.
Yeah, 5 guys is going to be but our core guys.
Yeah,
but going to be playing in the tournament.
Yeah, but they've got to get going though, because we're like 50 games into the season, and right now, I mean, Boston just passed them again.
Yeah, but we got 3 games in hand.
They do, but the Lightning are hanging on to the second wild card spot, but they're actually got the same amount of points as Columbus at the moment. Montreal, New York, Detroit, they're all nipping at their heels. So you don't exactly have that buffer that you kind of did before.
Right.
So when they come out of this 14-day break, they really need to get going. And again, I was continue to say, Julien Brisebois is not one to just let things kind of just go away from him. There's going to be a move. They need a depth scorer. I think that's obvious. Like, I think they have, like, the depth guys, I think this is a fair way to say it. They do some good things, but at some point you need like a timely goal here and there from some of those bottom 6. Yeah. Like Gergensons, for example. I feel like Gergensons is doing a lot of really good things, but he's got zero goals.
Yeah.
Like you need somebody to put the puck in the back of the net back there. They need Moser back in the worst way. Lilleberg has really struggled, and his struggles have now compounded to Nick's Perbix because they're playing together.
That's a bad group.
That's a bad pairing right there.
But remember, in the playoffs, they're not going to play a whole lot. So
correct.
That's that. So I'm looking at this team as a playoff team. I think they're going to get to the playoffs. They got 5 games at home now. They get a little bit of rest, sleep in their own beds. I would like to see them get 8 points out of these home games, if they can. And then you're in perfect position. You've made up, then you'll be, all those games will have been made up for the most part. You'll probably be in 3rd place, a solid 3rd place. And then you get your rest. And then you come back, and I think that Brisebois makes a move for depth scoring. Maybe a top 4 defenseman. I don't know. We'll see. They're worried about Moser. So I think I'm fine with where the Lightning are at. I'm not going to panic because I'm watching these games and they're just missing open nets when they should be hit. They're not going to miss those.
They got a lot of that luck earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Like I had mentioned before, there were some unsustainable shooting percentages on the Lightning, and that has evened itself out now.
Yeah, that's funny how that works. And then it'll even itself out as they go forward. So I'm not panicking about the Lightning like a lot of people are. Just chill out. They'll be fine. And the other part about that is I don't see a team, certainly in the Atlantic. I mean, Toronto's good, and we haven't been able to beat them, but I don't think they're unbeatable. The Panthers are good, but not unbeatable. The Bruins, I think, are not. They can't score it. And the teams that are coming up behind them, like Detroit, has put together a run with their new coach. That'll flame out a little bit. Montreal's, Marty's got them playing hard. He really does.
Yeah,
I just don't think they have the talent.
Ottawa's now there. Ottawa's gotten in that third spot in the Atlantic. The Atlantic that's another thing. The Atlantic has upped itself. We've been waiting for the Atlantic to let's go.
I don't see a dominant team that I say, we can't beat them.
No, I mean the Metro with Washington is a different story, and Carolina just goes and makes. I mean that move came out of nowhere with Mikko Rantanen. I can't believe. And that's one of the top handful of players in the National Hockey League who just gets traded in the middle of the season from one contender to the next. That came out of nowhere. So the East has it's leveled itself up, and the Lightning have to match it.
Yep.
I mean, it's simple as that.
Absolutely.
But they have the high-end talent. So,
all right, kids, thanks for the comments. Appreciate you all. Don't forget to please like and subscribe.
One last thing. I'll leave this with y'all right here before I go. It's now been 42 days since the bonds for the Rays baseball have been approved. Thank you. Chris Latvala loves to remind us that on Twitter every day, and I love him for it. But that's it.
So you're saying that deal ain't going through?
I'm saying that it doesn't look promising at the moment.
Yeah. And I did hear that the Rays are out on the streets approaching people, business people for investments, promising 20% on their return if they will help them make up the funding gap for the stadium.
Oh, cool.
And business has not been brisk. Let's just put it that way. But they're selling $30,000 season tickets like they're going out of style. So they are going out of style. Actually,
I love it, and they're gonna get me a big bopper here any minute now.
keep waiting, brother.
The longer Pete Alonso's on the market, the price will go down eventually.
And Liam Cohen's coming back, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys again for jumping in. We'll be back with more fun and frivolity tomorrow. We'll see you then.